Seeing as it is 7:15, the Monday, October 2nd, 2023 Finance Committee meeting will come to order. The clerk will please call the roll.
President Kaczynskis.
Present.
Councilor Ronald-Formian.
Present.
And Councilor Donlado.
Present.
Is anyone here recording the meeting? Okay, we'll begin with item number 11066, a notification from the mayor regarding certified free cash and retained earnings. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Madam President. Just at the beginning, free cash is for the general fund, retained earnings is for all of our enterprise funds, but the explanations are the same. Free cash is the term the Commonwealth uses to describe the surplus of the city's budget from the previous year, both from revenue that came in over budget and for expenses that came in under budget. For us this year, the majority of it came from revenue that came in over budget from different sources. The amount that has to be sent, basically at the end of every fiscal year, we send our balance sheet off to the Department of Revenue's Bureau of Local Accounts, who then says this is how much is left over. However, there's this certain outstandings, as we talk about sometimes when the city receives grants, they're reimbursement grants. If the money has not been received from that reimbursement, that amount is deducted from our free cash to make sure that we have at least enough in our reserves from the previous fiscal year to cover those costs until that funding comes in, and then it hits our free cash in the following year. So if you look at the free cash calculation sheet from the Division of Local Services, you'll see that our deferred revenue was about $914,383. That's the amount that was outstanding from those reimbursement grants that the funding has not come in by the time to close the fiscal year. So that will hit our free cash in next year's round once those grant reimbursements come through. That leaves us with a free cash total certified amount of $2,579,559.00. That can be used towards the allowable uses of free cash, one-time projects, going towards the appropriations that we have here, appropriations throughout the year that aren't expected and aren't included in the annual operating budget, all of those uses that are there going forward. The enterprise funds are also in a quite healthy state, with the sewer enterprise account having a retained earnings amount of $5,603,479. The water enterprise account having retained earnings certified at $1,858,549. The golf course having a retained earnings certified amount of $620,202. Landfill at $144,800, and the solid waste enterprise account, the $254,526. Again, the general fund, that's everything that's not in an enterprise account, that's also not cable related. The sewer and water is from our sewer rate users, so if you are on those, that goes to those items. The golf course is solely funded out of membership fees from the golf course. The landfill account is one that we provide some funding for in free cash due to the monitoring requirements that we have on the city side, but also in the methane collection that we contract out there too, so we do make some money towards the landfill. And then the solid waste enterprise account goes towards our trash collection. So if you are on city trash pickup, that's the fees associated with that you get in your water sewer trash. So that's our retained earnings and our general fund free cash rundown that we have. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those as they come up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any questions, comments from the committee?
Not at this time.
The Department of Revenue does recommend on their guidance that cities and towns aim to have a free cash certified amount at about between 3 and 5% of the annual operating budget in which the fiscal year is, in which the free cash is certified. We're at 3.5% of our annual budget with this amount here, so we're right in the DOR guidelines for that.
I would just like to also acknowledge in your letter the acknowledgement of City Auditor John Richard and the work that he does for getting this information certified for us, and how early this was obtained by the city, but also it just speaks to the good work that he does for the city, and we're lucky to have him. Any further questions, comments from the committee?
Motion that we recommend placing it on file. Second.
Motion made by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Donalowitz to recommend place the item on file. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 11067. This item and the next couple of items are subject to the city's administrative financial policies and how we proceed with these. Mr. Mayor?
That is correct, Madam President. This is all subject to that. The policies state that after free cash is certified, the mayor shall put up a money order to the city council to appropriate 5% of certified free cash to the city's stabilization account. This 5% would be $128,978. Not that, it does not include the the current balance of the stabilization account, not including that potential appropriation if the council votes to do so, is $3,403,508.54, which is the highest that we've had in at least the 2000s in the city stabilization account. We do aim to be within the DOR guidelines of between 7 and 10% of the city's municipal operating budget. We're right now at about 4.72, so we're just under those guidelines, but we're making a good effort towards that.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the committee?
As you stated, it's in those administrative guidelines that we have, so it's before us every year.
Established, yeah.
I make a motion, we recommend passage of the order of the full council.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Donellau, seconded by Councilor Cormier to recommend passage of the full council. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion passes. Item 11068, an order appropriating $25,796 from free cash to other post-employment benefits liability trust fund. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam President. This is also dictated in those adopted policies that the city has at 1% of certified free cash. Therefore, the appropriation requested is $25,796. We currently have a balance in the OPEB trust fund of $203,808.53. This is an account that if it's set up and it's basically an actuarial protection, it goes towards our bond rating, but it's if our government ceases to exist, we revoke our charter, we join another town, something like that, at least we'll have enough money saved up to pay our retirement fees, our retirement pension payments that we give to our retirees. So it's money that we'll never be able to touch in reality. But it's something that we are required to do for our bond rating that affects all of our other financial stuff. So that's why we put this forward, to show that we're making an effort, but not a effort that really ties the city and is more negative in the long run with us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Questions, comments from the committee?
No, this comes up every year. I have to agree with the mayor. I make a motion that we recommend passage.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Cormier, seconded by Councilor Donellau to recommend passage to the full council. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 11069, an order appropriating $257,956 from free cash to Department of Public Works Department Road Resurfacing Expense Account. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam President. The city's financial policies state that 10% of certified free cash be put towards road paving. That relates to $257,956. Normally, I do higher than the 10%. However, what we did was we added $150,000 of our ARPA funding towards paving this year. So that's kind of making up for where we normally go higher than the amount in the policies. So we also received $604,000 from the Commonwealth's Chapter 90 program. The cost of paving a road currently is $81.12 per square foot. So you multiply that out by mile, it's quite costly now. I can say we are still waiting on a MassWorks grant that we've submitted to the Commonwealth that we should be hearing from soon, that would pave 2 major thoroughfares out in Ward 3. And this appropriation likely wouldn't be used this calendar year. We'd probably save it next year. We know that the Safe Routes to School program is going to be paving a portion of Elm Street, and the Uptown Rotary project is going to be paving around the Rotary. So next year's plan is to pave those streets that are tributary to the Uptown Rotary: Green Street, Woodland, Pearl, Elm, and Central, that have not been done as part of the water main project. So that's probably what this will be going towards next year.
Questions, comments from the committee?
No, none at this time.
Recommend.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Cormier, seconded by Councilor Donellau to recommend passage to the full council. Is there discussion on the motion?
Keys Road is getting paved tomorrow.
Keys Road is getting paved tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Great, thank you. All those, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 11070, an order appropriating $75,000 from free cash to landfill closure expenditures. Mr. Mayor?
This is the required amount we're required to do annually for our monitoring of methane and other gases at the solid waste landfill that's been closed. We're required to do it for a period of 30 years. and it's something that we do every year as part of our financial policies.
Questions, comments from the committee?
As you said, this is the plan we've been seeing before us every year for some time now. My only question had been about the retained earnings part of the landfill, and how that relates to it, but you answered it during the free cash portion, so thank you. I move to recommend approving the order.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor General, seconded by Counselor Cormier to recommend approval of the order to the full council. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 11071, an order appropriating $200,000 from free cash to vehicle stabilization. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam President. This is something I started to do last year as we start saving up for a new ladder truck for the fire department. We purchased a new rescue truck, ambulance, and engine with our ARPA funds, but we weren't able to afford a new ladder truck. Right now, our ladder truck is about 20 years old and it's starting to show its age. We do have about 5 years left on it from what Chief Lagoya is letting me know. So we're starting to save up for that new ladder truck. Right now, the cost of a ladder truck is about $1.7 million to $2 million, and there's a 3 to 4 year lead time between order and arrival. So we are looking at other options, if there's financing options, if there's lease options, lease to own options, things like that, for when that time comes that we do need a new truck until we get that amount. But this appropriation would make it so that we currently have $512,413.79 in the vehicle stabilization account.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the committee?
No, I have to agree with it. We'll have to be looking sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Because of the lead time.
Yeah.
This is scary, but
I think it's great. We're at least planning for hopefully a large portion of it. It already is a large portion of it, but by the time we have to make the purchase,
Yeah.
it'll be less of an impact on the
motion
city.
that we pass.
Second?
Motion made by Counselor Cormier, seconded by Counselor Donald-Owitz to pass the order, recommend passage of the order to the full council. Is there a discussion on the motion? I was just gonna say, I appreciate the timeline in your letter and the extra information, Mr. Mayor, because that was very helpful. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 11072, an order appropriating $90,072.04 from free cash to mayor unclassified department for opioid professional services expenses. Mr. Mayor?
The opioid settlement that the city was party to, that was done through then Attorney General Maura Healey before she was governor, gave each city and town a certain portion of that settlement against all opioid manufacturers and distributors based on a calculation on population and amount expended in that community. However, those funds are restricted by the settlement agreements and by statute. Therefore, any portions that came in from that funding last year that came after the budgets were completed now have to fall to free cash because they were not special revenue designated by the legislation, but they are still restricted by that settlement. So we now have to appropriate the amount that fell to free cash to that uses in this year's budget, and that is what this appropriation does. So of the amount of free cash that we have, about $90,000 and change came from the opioid settlements that happened last year, so that'll go towards it can only be used towards programs used to combat the opioid epidemic in the community.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is something we had to apply for?
It's something we signed onto the lawsuit for.
Thank you.
That's right, and we'd have a contractor
Yes, we do.
Well,
For our regional
provide the
support.
service.
Yes.
I do appreciate that, Mr. Mayor, as it's a huge issue and it needs attention and funding in order for it to be hopefully resolved at some point. But it's, the people in our community need it, so I really appreciate that. Is there any more discussion? Is there any further questions or comments from the committee?
I move to recommend approving the order to the full council.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Donald, seconded by Counselor Cormier to recommend approval to the full council. Is there a discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 11061, an ordinance to amend the code of the city of Gardner by adding a new chapter to be entitled Chapter 504, Wage Theft Protection, which shall provide the protections for workers and employees of contractors working on city projects. Councilor Donald-Owitz.
Thank you. I would just, at this time, like to ask for more time.
The item will remain on the finance committee, in finance committee.
In finance committee, yes.
On the calendar for more time. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Donald-Owitz, seconded by Counselor Cormier. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.